So welcome to the 5 secrets to audio success. And ultimately what this presentation aims to do is reveal the secrets that give your clients better return on investment when using the audio ecosystem. Plus, it's absolutely unique IP to SCA that we apply to our partners. And that's because we spend a lot of money better understanding how creativity generates greater effectiveness for our partners and for our clients. So the agenda is pretty simple. It's what we're going to show you is the 5 secrets. So the secret one is probably the most important asset that you need to have. And that's not just in the audio ecosystem, that's also been part of the marketing mix. Secret 2 is how in this day and age do you increase engagement? And there is a specific way to do that. Secret 3 is all around how do you ensure that your brand gets greater recall? Secret 4 is why you must use multi-platforms in this new age of audio. And then secret 5 is the new way to test. Now, as we all know, not all advertising works, and I'll probably get shot for saying this, but let's say there's a 50-50 chance of your advertising working at the moment. Well, what I can say is that we can dramatically increase that, more like 90-10, if you apply these 5 rules. And the big difference is creativity. And what we know, great creative connects consumers in a meaningful way. And ultimately drive salience for that brand. And this is a really good example. Obviously, this is someone playing or expressing their creativity, but it's connecting to no one. And sometimes that's what happens with ads. When ads are created, they're too informative and therefore they're not going to connect with people. Whereas the second picture is showcasing a DJ that's creatively expressing themselves in a way that generates mass connection. And that's what we're saying in this new data, what we've found and how to do that. But how can we say we can do this? Well, there's 2 big data inputs that we have. The first one is content. And at SCA, we have over 164 communities, and that's bigger than any of our counterparts. And we have that because we have provincial offices, we have regional offices, and we have metro offices. And ultimately, content are consistently trying to better understand how they can engage that audience. And we've got a great working relationship with content, and they open up their black book and allow us to dig into the insights and data so we better understand how to engage our audience. The second piece of the puzzle is commercial research, and we have over 200 effectiveness studies, and that is a lot of studies. And ultimately, on the Monday and on the Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, what we can see is why campaigns work and why they don't. And there's clear trends that happen, and we've used that trending data to really reveal these secrets. So it's the content and commercial research coming together to provide a better way to connect through the power of creativity.
Secret 1.
Yeah, let's get into secret 1. You have to have an audio identity. And this, what I mean by why this is such an unfair advantage, it's like if you're doing a 5-kilometer race, you've got a 4-kilometer head start if you have an audio identity. But let's break it down a little bit. What is an audio identity? Well, think of it's a 3 to 7 second mnemonic or melody, a collection of notes, and it's your thumbprint. This is your DNA of your sound, and this is an example of a really good audio logo. Now, where a lot of companies get it wrong is they don't extract that melody and make other assets out of it. How we see it, this is a centralized portal for how your ad sounds in audio. And what we do is create other assets like music beds that complement that audio logo and stem from that audio logo. And this is a really good example once again. So think when I say an audio identity, it's the audio logo plus the music extension. But why is it an unfair advantage? And the secret is it's encoding. If you go back when we were in the savannah, we always had audio to tell us something. And an example of that is while we're picking berries, there was these birds, and birds made these sounds. And basically what that was telling people, they were picking the berries, hey guys, it's safe. There's no predators about. And that message is encoded. Well, we use the audio to encode different messages of safety today as you're walking across the traffic lights. But great brands also use this coding to represent something distinct about their brand. And this is a wonderful example about an audio logo. And there's no surprise that the Boost owner did come from Austerra and was a content director and absolutely knew the power of audio, and in particularly using a great audio logo. And so does Triple M. Triple M has used this sound for a very long time. That was a Triple M whisper. It represents cool. It represents rock. It has an encoded message. Now, if you go the other area, which is audio can also evoke emotion to make action. This is an example of something that would make you either run or you'd fight. And ultimately, that's telling us to act. And we'd run if we wanted to survive. But we use this in all of our entertainment assets. And TV producers are in particularly great at using sounds to evoke a certain emotion. And one of the most famous, there's only 2 notes, is this. That's obviously Jaws. And then we also use it in our traffic and use to represent important information is coming. And that's the encoded messages in sounds like this. So think of an audio logo as an encoded message that tells people something about your client's brand. Now, music is the most powerful thing to encode emotions, and you need emotions because you want positive associations for your brand. And we've been using the power of rhythm and melody for a very long time. Religions in particular picked this up because they understood the right rhythm and melody will make us remember things more, and it absolutely does. This man's Henry VIII, and he took over in a time that it was quite turbulent, and he created a song to ease society. It was called Greensleeves, and this is how it sounded. But a great entrepreneur in America realized 100 years later that sound could still be welcoming and could be exciting if they just squeeze it together. And that entrepreneur created a brand that we all love and all know. It's Mr. Whippy, and this is how he changed Greensleeves. And ultimately, that music is welcoming and exciting, and it's encoded key associations, even though you probably don't see Mr. Whippy band anymore. Now, you also remember music, and you probably haven't heard this melody for over 20 years unless you've got kids, and playing at home, have a guess of what this music is. It's Incy Wincy Spot for all those that are playing at home. And that's the power of audio to make you remember and have powerful emotional associations. So the benefits of having an audio identity, and at SCA, we absolutely can create these highly effectively for your clients. The first one is you be recalled at the right moment. It adds feeling to that particular ad, and it elongates your campaign. In all of the studies that we see, the ads that do have an audio identity, they're remembered for longer, even when they're not playing on media. And we've had 2-month stretches where that particular ad has been remembered more. Let's get into the second.
Secret 2.
It's the power of story, and a lot of people, you intuitively know the power of story, but what does that mean when you're making an audio ad? Well, let's firstly break it down. Why are stories so important? And stories are important because back in the savannah again, when we're in the cave, we had our elders tell us things, and they told us through stories. And it was normally a credible source, so that elder, and they told it in a way that we would remember. Told it in a particular diction, a particular rhythm. And they told useful information, so information where the water hole can be found, or that red berry's safe, the other red berry's not. But it also passed down values, and it passed it in story form so we could remember it. And what that did is try to unlock our imagination. So we had to make those visuals. And the great thing about audio is we can unlock imagination. If you just think of a pink elephant, you've never seen a pink elephant, and yet you can think of one. You obviously wouldn't have thought of that kind of pink elephant. You might have thought of something different. But it's a very personalized medium. Now, this is the story. This is the Icarus. This was done BC. This was done so many years ago, or hundreds of years ago, that it still is in culture, though. We still know the Icarus theory and the fable that it is. And that's because there's a certain way in which great stories are told. And Disney have probably done it the best out of anyone. And see, if you're playing at home, what if you know this story? It's a happy ending. That was Cinderella for you guys playing at home. But the important key is, how do you apply a story? Well, it's to know what a story is fundamentally made up of. And it's a rhythm. There's a certain rhythm. It ebbs and flows. And that's what's really important about ads. They've got to have certain pacing. We call it pacing. And there's got to be certain ebbs and flows. And it's working with the audio identity. And then it's also working with the voice that carries information. The audio identity carries emotion. And giving space for both makes things far more effective. Now, musicians have been doing this for a very long time, and you guys will know that this amazing band, and they've used great pacing for many of their songs. One of them is this. But what happens when you take the pacing out? This is what happens. So it gives you a totally different feeling if you just use the words and the voice. So pacing is absolutely critical. It makes your ad stand out from your competitors. It gives space to hear that distinctive asset, that audio identity. And consumers feel your ad, and that's really important.
Secret 3.
Now, recall. You need to be recalled in the right moment, and frequency is the key to that, but there is a catch, and I'll reveal that catch as we move forward. But let's break it down. Why is frequency and recall really important? Well, inherently, you would know this, which is when you're at a bar and all of the noise is happening, but you hear your name and you can react to that. Now, that's because ultimately the one word you've heard most in your life is your name. And so what that does is create what we call thick memory structures. And the thicker the memory structures that you have, the quicker things bounce to your mind and the quicker you recall that. And if you, as a client, have thicker memory structures than your competitor, ultimately you're going to beat that competitor in the consumer's mind, and you're going to be recalled first. And that's really important. But the sports legends have also known this. This is Sir Donald Bradman, and ultimately why he became such an amazing athlete is because morning and night frequency, he practiced hitting with his cricket ball and a wicket on his garage, and he chucked it. And what happened over time, he saw how that ball bounced, all of these different areas, and that created memory structures. So any time when he was facing down the pitch, he could absolutely see where that ball was going and subconsciously hit it out of the park. Now, that's exactly what we're trying to do with your advertising in delivering frequency of your message. And we do it to sounds all the time. You probably went to reach for your phone. You know, you've heard that so many times, it creates you to do something like this does as well. Your meal or your hot chocolate, whatever it is, it's ready. But there's a catch, and there's a catch with frequency, and you've got to know this catch. You can't just have a VO going Bunnings, 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 and think that's going to give you the greatest recall. You've got to use the power of all of your audio assets. So the first one is music. The second one is singing. The third one is the voice.
Bunnings Warehouse.
And if you put that all together, you could make an ad at the start. And it's really important to message at the top your messages, and we say at least 3. But you've got to be using all this power, because ultimately, if a consumer is familiar with your brand, they're more likely to listen to your message.
Bunnings Warehouse. Lowest prices are just the beginning.
So the benefits of recall and saying your name multiple times is it's a less of a turn-off factor. You're remembered before your competitors, and it becomes embedded in your consumers' minds faster than your competitor. So you're recalled quicker.
Secret 4.
Now, secret 4 is really important, and particularly in all media now, but in particularly the audio ecosystem, it's not only fragmenting. So you've got to use linear broadcast, and you've got to use digital together to drive better results for your campaigns. Why is that? Well, ultimately you reach more people, which you get to talk to more people. And then you can use the context of that message to slightly nudge people in your favor. So context is absolutely king. And we did a study. We did a study and went over for 4 weeks to determine what does create greater effectiveness. Is it using broadcast alone, digital alone, or them together? It was really, really clear. Using them together increased recall by 30% more than the other platforms, just individually used, and it increased awareness. So use multiple platforms to drive greater overall effectiveness. And that's because you get to reach more people, so more people know about your product. You can design for context, so more people will listen to your message, and you convert more people ultimately to your product.
Secret 5.
Now, this is the last secret, and the creatives would kill me for saying test, 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 but you've absolutely got to test. But here at SCA, we have a very exclusive product that we specifically use. And we use that to ensure that all of the brand's communication is consistent with its brand attributes and brand values. So this is very well known. It's called signal theory. Signal theory is used in communication a lot, but it's also used in different marine animals and all animals, right? Everyone's giving off a signal. I'm just going to use an example. This is Mr. Pufferfish. Weird looking fish, aren't they? Anyway, what they do is a thing called fish art. And if you've ever been scuba diving, you've had the luxury of seeing this. And ultimately, it's a signal to Mrs. Pufferfish. And the idea is if if that is seen, and that is very likely to be seen, Mrs. Pufferfish will drop the eggs in the center. And ultimately, that is creating a very strong signal, whereas that is a weak signal. And it's like ads. Ads have weak signals and some have strong signals. And you're absolutely going to grab people's attention when you create a strong signal. So how do you know your signals are strong? Well, you test it. So we use a global company, and we can benchmark, and we put some audio into our platform, and it came up that the grey's the benchmark, by the way, and it looks really good on the surface. So you got high recall, which is exactly what you want. It beats the competitors. You got high intention to purchase, which is exactly what you want. But then let's look at the other attributes, the other signals. Well, the most important one is, because we're listening to tradies, is authenticity. And it's quite low being with the attribute of authenticity. And that's a really big problem for this particular client. So we'll have to tweak that ad to ensure that it's a little bit more authentic. Happy doesn't really matter with this particular client, but if you're a McDonald's, you want to be perceived as more happy. So we turn that happiness in that ad up more. And it goes on. But what this testing platform does is test all the signals to make sure you've got the strongest signal comparatively to your client. So what kind of pufferfish do you want to be? You want to be one that has a really strong signal, or do you want one that's got a really weak signal and doesn't grab anyone's attention? So the benefits of testing, it absolutely develops a strong signal, so it reflects your brand with more consistency. It means you are far more likely to be recognized, and it drives familiarity. And what we know about familiarity, it drives the propensity to purchase from your client. And just think of when you're overseas and you've had enough of the local cuisines, you want a McDonald's because you're familiar with that particular brand and the comfort that it gives you. So guys, in summary, the 5 secrets are: have an audio identity. That's going to make you 4 kilometers ahead of the pack in a 5-kilometer race. Make sure pacing, and it takes a real skill to do this, and you've got to be trained, and there's not a lot of audio producers that do that well. Say your name, but remember the catch. Use multiple platforms, linear and digital, and make sure you test with the right equipment. And here at SCA, we can absolutely do that, and it would be free of charge for our partners. What we do is what we call a health check, and we run all of your ads through this health check. So we use the filter and the lens of all of those 5 secrets, and we test it in our platform, and then we propose some recommendations. So ultimately, your clients get better results from their campaigns. So that's it. Please feel free to reach out to Joe Anson or myself or Andrea, but I would be happy to do a health check for your clients. And once again, for you guys only, it would be absolutely a free health check, and we can see where we go from there. But ultimately, SCA is investing a lot of money in creativity, and hopefully you can see the benefits of partnering up with us. Have a great one.